Today I'm helping you say no to people who are pushing food on you that you don't want to eat. Whether or not you're on a calorie-controlled diet or a special diet trying to be healthy, there are always people out there that you are going to come across all the time who constantly push food on you. Now, we can call these people food pushers, but that's a bit harsh because the reality is that we are social creatures. We're designed to eat food with other people. When you label people as food pushers, then that's just describing most of society, because most of society really wants to feed each other. We want to see each other enjoying food. It's just part of what it is to be a human. So you're never going to be able to avoid the kind of people who push food on you, because people are generally just trying to be kind. And yes, there are people who will put you on a guilt trip for eating food, not eating food with them, or not eating the favorite food that you've always eaten, and now you've gone on a diet, you're so boring, and why can't you eat this, and all this kind of stuff. And I'm going to give you things to say in every scenario when you come across people who are pushing food on you in different scenarios. But the main thing to realize is that people aren't doing it to annoy you. They're not doing it to get you to quit your diet just because they want to be mean. They're just doing it because it's human nature. So try not to be frustrated with these people, but try and stay in a good mood and try and stay thankful that people are trying to offer you food, because it is a nice thing for people to do. So the usual scenario is somebody comes up to you and they say, "Oh, I've got these cookies. Would you like a cookie?" And you look at the cookies and you think, "Oh, they look delicious. Yes, I would love to eat a cookie." And you think in your head, "Actually, I can't. I'm on a diet." So they're the words that come out of your mouth. You say to the person, "Sorry, I can't. I'm on a diet." And do you know what those two words do? Those two words are words that you should never say to people. You should never say the word diet, and you should never say the word can't. Let's address them. So what happens when you say to people, "I'm on a diet"? That word diet, as soon as you say the word diet, what does that conjure up in your own brain? To me, that conjures up restriction. I have to be different to everybody else. I'm deprived. Poor me, I'm on a diet. And do you know how many women say they're constantly on a diet and they say, "Oh, I shouldn't really, I'm on a diet," just because they feel like they're carrying a bit of extra weight and they need to justify that they're aware that they're carrying extra weight, and they're trying to tell the other person, "I don't eat biscuits all the time. That's not for me. I'm not really a big cookie eater. I'm on a diet." And then as soon as you tell somebody you're on a diet, do you know what they say to you? "Oh, don't worry. You don't need to lose weight. You're fine as you are." Because they think, "Oh, you must be trying to tell me that you're not fine as you are because you have to be on this special diet." So they say, "Oh, don't worry." And then they think, "Poor deprived person on a diet." And they say, "Just have a little treat today. It's fine. You can start again tomorrow, or just a little cookie won't hurt." And they're probably right. You know, if you just had one cookie, it probably wouldn't hurt. But the thing is, you've decided in your mind that cookies are banned from your diet and therefore you're not allowed them. So they just try and persuade you. And what happens is when they try and persuade you, you can't really argue back with them. You can't really say, well, you could say, "Oh, I'm not fine as I am. Look at these big rolls of fat." But you don't really want to draw attention to it. So you could say that, and then they're just going to compliment you even more. "Oh, don't worry, I can't tell. You look fine to me." Like, I used to have this all the time because I've been overweight a lot myself. And you can't really argue back. As soon as somebody says, "Oh, you look fine to me," that's it. You can't argue anymore with that. So your excuse has gone out the window. And what more excuses do you have? So you just have to not be a deprived person, join the real world again, and just eat the cookie. So that doesn't really work. And also, if you say the word can't, what happens when you say the word can't? So it makes it sound like you are being forced to do something that you don't want to do, that somebody else is controlling you, or the diet is controlling you. And as soon as you say, "I can't," that tells you, the person, that you are being controlled. And nobody wants to hear that somebody else is being controlled. So do you know what they say to you? "Oh, of course you can." And they give you permission to eat the cookie because they think, "Poor controlled person. I have to help them out of this controlling relationship that they've got with food. I'm going to give them permission to eat the cookie." Yes, you can. You can eat the cookie. And then you think in your mind, "Yeah, you're right, actually. I can eat the cookie. I will eat the cookie because I'm sick of being controlled by this controlling diet or this controlling weight loss coach that I've got. I'm just going to eat the cookie. I can eat the cookie. So that word doesn't work either. So what other words shouldn't you say? You shouldn't say something like, oh, that cookie's bad, or that cookie is unhealthy. Too unhealthy for me. Oh no, I'm on a healthy diet. Too unhealthy, that cookie. And what does that do? That makes the person who's trying to give you the cookie feel really bad about themselves because they're the one who's bought the cookie. So then the person trying to give you the cookie is going to feel all defensive, and they'll say, oh, it's only one little cookie. You know, it's if you eat healthy the rest of the time, what can one little cookie hurt? And then they'll try and push it on you even more. So saying something's bad or unhealthy doesn't really work either. And it also makes you feel more restricted because you can never eat any bad or unhealthy food on your healthy diet. So you just feel even more deprived and you want the cookie even more. So what else shouldn't you say? You shouldn't say, I'll ruin my progress if I eat that, because that makes you an all or nothing kind of person. That makes you sound like a very extreme person who can't control themselves. And it's not actually true. You know, if you eat a cookie, that doesn't mean that you've ruined all of your progress for that entire week. And the person who's giving you the cookie probably knows this as well, because it's kind of logical thinking that you can eat a little cookie, like 100-calorie cookie or a 60-calorie cookie isn't going to really hurt your diet if that's the only thing you ate in the whole week. But the problem is it's probably not going to be, and you know it. You know that if you eat that one cookie, it's probably going to lead to more. So it's not just about one cookie, it's about feeling like you've given in. So if you give in and have that one cookie, you know fine well it's probably going to lead to you eating the whole packet of cookies. Or if you can't eat someone else's cookies, you're going to go out and buy a packet of cookies, or go home and raid the cupboards and eat whatever sweet and chocolatey things you can find in your own cupboards. So that just makes you feel like you're not in control. So that's not a great thing to say either. And it just leads the person to say things like, well, you're being too strict. Just enjoy your life, have a bit more balanced, be balanced and all that kind of thing. So that doesn't help. What else shouldn't you say? You shouldn't say, oh, maybe I'll have that cookie later. That used to infuriate me when I used to do baking, and I would offer it to like family members and they'd say, oh, not right now, maybe later. And I'll think, right, chop them all up, they're in a box. I don't want to eat all these myself. They said later, now it's later. Now I'm going to offer them a cake again. And they still say, oh, no, thank you, maybe later. And I think, well, when is later? And it just makes me more frustrated. So if you don't mean it, then there's no point in saying maybe later, because that person is still going to offer you that thing later. So what else shouldn't you say? I'm trying to be good. That's similar to saying that the food is bad. That will make you feel like you are too strict, and the person will try and convince you to be not strict as well. So they're all things that you shouldn't say. So what things should you say when people try and pressure you? So let's go through a few scenarios. So say, for example, somebody says to you, would you like a cookie? Here are some things that you could say. No, thanks. That looks delicious, because you're complimenting the cookie. You're saying something nice, and who doesn't like compliments? That looks delicious, but I'm full. And then they can't argue with that. You could say, I appreciate it, but I'm sticking to my plan. And they can't argue with that either. You could say, I'm so full right now, but thank you. You could say, I'm good, thank you, but you enjoy it. And they can't argue with that either. You could also say, I have a big meal planned later, so I'm saving space for that. And that also makes it sound like you're not depriving yourself, you're just choosing something different later on. And one thing I meant to mention at the start is that what you need to do is you need to get in the right mindset when people offer you food. So when people offer you food, you need to decide in advance. Most of the time, you're not going to take any food. And if you decide this in advance, it will make saying no a lot easier. Whereas if in your mind, you're constantly telling yourself, I'm deprived, I'm on a diet, as soon as somebody offers you food and you look at the food and you're kind of smiling at it and you're like, oh, it looks so nice, but I can't, I'm on a diet. Then that's just an invitation for someone to persuade you out of your diet, because you're telling them that you want them to persuade you out of your diet. So don't let yourself be persuaded. Be firm in your own mind before you go into the conversation with somebody else and decide, no, I'm just going to eat my own food, or I'm going to do things in a pre-planned way. So let's look at some other scenarios. Just say you've said, no, thank you to the cookie. I'm okay, thank you, but you go ahead. And then they say something like, oh, go on. one cookie won't hurt. I made them myself and I really want your feedback. And you just stick to your guns. Just say something that they can't argue back with. Just say, oh, that's really nice of you. They do look delicious and I so appreciate the effort. But I'm good right now, thank you. I'm okay, thank you. And they just can't argue with that. They could keep on saying the same thing, but you could just keep on saying the same thing. And then it just gets boring. And here is another fun strategy that I like to try. If there's somebody who always tends to push food on you, or they always tend to have delicious food that is really tempting for you, and they're a really kind, nice person, and they just want to do something nice for you, why don't you just do that same thing back to them, only choose something that you actually want to eat? So get a punnet of grapes, or get some cherry tomatoes, or bake a really healthy cake that's really low in calories and separate it into tiny little portions, bite-sized portions, or something that you want to eat. And you could be eating it and saying, oh, this is absolutely delicious. I really want you to try it. Go ahead, go on. And you just play them at their own game and you're forcing the healthy food onto them. And then they'll soon get the hint. If they do that to you, they'll understand what it feels like when you do it back to them and they think, no, I don't want to eat that healthy food. And then they'll get the message and they won't do it back to you again. So this is the kind of thing that I teach in my weight loss club, Shredders Connect. And I've also got a 6-week shred program that you can go through on your own. And I also do one-to-one coaching. So there's an option there for everybody. So go to shreddersconnect.com if you want to work with me. And until then, it's time to turn your struggles into strength.